What's the fun and exciting topic for today, Jade?
Co-parenting finances. So I feel like I'm having a bit of PTSD there.
Welcome to Financially Ever After, your podcast for navigating the financial side of divorce. I'm Josephti Cruz, and I'm here with my co-host, Jade Eagles.
We're here to remind you that divorce might be the end of one chapter, but it's also really the start of a brand new journey filled with hope and growth.
Each episode will share practical tips for financial empowerment and insights to make this journey a little less daunting.
So thank you for joining us and welcome to Financially Ever After.
What about yourself?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's a necessary topic. You know, you're getting divorced from your spouse because you don't want to see them anymore. But oh, shoot, you have kids. So you're going to have to continue communicating with them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And even better, about money.
Yeah. So I guess if you're thinking that maybe that child support was going to
cover everything,
think again, because we'll kind of get into that a little bit later now. So listen up.
So we're going to talk about developing a co-parenting financial plan and some communication strategies.
Yeah, I guess also setting some sort of financial boundaries.
Right.
And responsibilities with that co-parenting there. So,
and of course, tips and tricks for navigating these shared expenses and child-related financial decisions.
Yeah. And I think at the heart of everything that we're trying to communicate is that we're trying to have a really good post-marriage relationship or family.
Yep. Let's be the best divorced family that you can possibly be.
And obviously, there's going to be some divorces that don't involve children. This one obviously does, because we're going to be talking about parenting. You can
skip over this one if you don't have any kids. Lucky you. Not lucky you.
Unless you view your ex as a child. Right. But you're probably not giving them child support. So.
Right. We're not talking about the adult child's expenses. I
was reading an article and it was saying around 60%. This is from the US Census, actually. So 60% of child support payments.
Only 60% of child support payments are received.
Thank you for correcting
At least reported received to the census as of 2015.
Which is lower than I thought, but I guess maybe I'm not surprised. So like to our point earlier on there, if you're thinking that this child support payment was going to be able to cover you for your expenses, it might not.
Well, if you're on the receiving end, it's not meant to cover everything. It's just what's on the decree, right? Yep. So either if you don't have that decree yet, then maybe that's something to negotiate, like what it does cover. Mm-hmm. And if you are the giver of the child support, also do not expect that it covers everything, because it definitely doesn't.
Yeah. It's a legal obligation for you as well there. So try and, I guess, keep that hatred, anger, animosity, whatever it is for your assumptions out of it there. So, all right. So kind of let's get into that first one there. So, how do you, develop that sort of, co-parenting plan there? So
it's vitally important due to memory loss or what have you, to always have some kind of paper trail, I think figuratively or literally, right?
I think Joe's talking about me here. So I could talk for ages about all my mistakes on this one here. So whether it be, as Joe mentioned earlier, so there's things might be in the divorce decree. Some things might be spelled out what's going to be covered, but there's also going to be a lot of things that aren't going to be covered. So just think of you as a child who's starting to become a teenager, maybe getting into more sporting events, wanting to go away on expensive camps.
Or that really nice pair of sneakers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, but I really need these $170 pair of shoes.
They make me run faster.
Yeah,
they do. Right. But in terms of a paper trail, what does that mean? So I think officially, so if there are a set of expenses to be shared or intended to be shared, that needs to be documented in something that both parties can access at all times.
Yeah.
So perhaps a spreadsheet, Google Sheets, right? Yep. That's something that both people can access, or some kind of co-parenting app.
I've never used one, but they do exist.
They do exist. If it works for amicable couples, texting or emails, but it is extremely important to have it documented somewhere, because inevitably someone's going to forget.
I think one of the problems with just a text, which I'm talking about myself here, is inevitably it's going to come to a point where it's like, I didn't say that, or I didn't agree to that.
Yeah, you never told me.
And
you
then I'm
never
like
told me.
swiping, like going,
Hundreds
where,
of texts.
Where is that? It's like, I can't find it again. Or it's, so if you can just have it in like a single point and, whether, or even email, like, having it documented that way there.
Like things we discussed and agreed on, dated, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Don't do what I did, which was all via WhatsApp and text message, all phone calls. So do not do those.
I mean, the phone calls are necessary, right? Let's talk about that.
But don't leave it at just a phone call.
Right. So let's say a big potential expense comes up. So, right now we're recording this in late March. Mm-hmm. So this is prime time, summer camp planning time. Mm-hmm. It might even be the end of summer camp planning time. Yep. But let's say your kid wants to do 4 different camps.
And those camps are expensive.
They can be.
Yeah.
Right. And those things, maybe your kid talked about those camps with you and not the other parent. Yep. It's probably a good idea not to assume that the other parent will automatically want to split all these camps. So make the assumption not to assume that the other parent's going to help pay for stuff.
Yeah.
And then, get this list together of what you want to discuss and schedule a call or a meeting to talk about it. Yeah. Right. So the call is necessary. The documentation is necessary after. Right.
Resist that urge just to be the people pleaser for your child or children.
Don't automatically agree.
Go, yes.
You want that Xbox?
Yeah.
We'll pay for it.
Yeah.
No.
I think I was reading somewhere they're talking about like the Disneyland dad or parent. Like, I'm just going to come in for all the good stuff there. So,
yes.
Yeah. So, and obviously, so that is incredibly important. So you kind of want to, if you're presented with that sort of request from your child or children, say, hey, let me talk to your mum or your dad.
Right.
And we'll get back to you there and see if we can, we can do it.
I'm going to talk, I guess I want to talk about vocabulary again, right? So there's needs and discretionary needs, I guess wants, discretionary wants, right? So there are actual needs like medical expenses or education or housing or food. Those are needs.
Tutoring?
We don't know.
Yeah.
That's discretionary wants, right, of the child or of you on behalf of your child are up for discussion, right? So let's say the co-parent doesn't want to pay for something that's discretionary.
Yep.
What happens? What do we do?
I've seen it happen where one parent will try and make them look like that I'm trying to help you out, but your other parent
is the one making life hard.
Yeah, saying
it's their
no
fault.
To this, And you've got a couple of friends who are going through that at the moment themselves, and it's really terrible because you're just tearing apart that family, even if you are in separate households now and divorced. But you got to be thinking about your children or child.
Remember, it's not about winning or losing, right? Yeah. This is about your kid. And I think that's how my co-parent and I really try to get along. We always, once we start getting huffy and puffy, we take a breath and we're like, okay.
Yeah.
This is about the kids. This is not about us.
But if you do have those expenses where maybe, you both are in agreement on, you need to kind of talk about like, well, do you have the money to be able to afford that as well? Because there might be one of the parties who can't really afford it at the moment due to either a short-term situation that has come up or more or even a long-term thing there.
Right.
How important is it for your child to still do that? Do you then maybe pay a certain percentage more though,
Right. Or if there's something that's super important to you, but not important to the other co-parent, maybe you pay for it yourself because again, it's a discretionary want and maybe whatever it is, if the other parent doesn't agree, but you think you really want them to do it, then maybe you just have to pay.
I think it's also important is you get children who are older and who can actually maybe do chores around the house is to try and get some skin in the game for those kids as well.
Yeah.
So, if it's a bigger ticket item, if it's a cell phone, like it's amazing how many kids will have a cell phone now or an Apple Watch or whatever, I think it's encouraging to, involve the child in that conversation.
In money conversations. Not blaming, but just talking about money and how it's not an endless stream.
And try and get their involvement in saving up for that as well, doing some tasks around the house. You know, that's going to help you if you're a single parent household. You might have remarried again, but, you know, let's think that you're just a single parent household. You definitely want that extra help around the house there. So, and I think it's really instilling good values for you, the kid as well.
I mean, I think children that are maybe 10 and older can also help list the potential expenses that they have. So that it's not like it has to all come from you. They can be involved in the process and talk about, okay, these are the things that I need, mom or dad. And then you can have those discussions with your child about what's a need versus a want. These are great discussions to have without bringing any negativity to or about the other co-parent, right?
So, Joe, so you're saying that we shouldn't be purchasing that activity for the child and then asking permission later on then?
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
That's probably why some marriages ended, right?
That's right.
So,
I guess, you know, by trying to be more out front and communicating it too, you're getting a second chance of building up that trust again in that post, you know, marriage relationship as well.
Right.
Maybe you didn't have that trust there. Maybe money was an issue there, but you've got a new chance of life to kind of reestablish new principles and values.
Let's be courteous. Let's be courteous to each other. Now, I've also heard this from other friends or couples about communication. So communication doesn't mean texting every thought that you have to your co-parent throughout the day and sending 15 texts about something that occurred to you at that moment. That is not going to build trust and good feelings.
No, that could be in the middle of their busy work day.
That's right. So consolidating your communication is maybe something that might be helpful in terms of maybe once a day you send an email or you add something to the spreadsheet, but you don't share that you added it to the spreadsheet till, you know, the end of that day.
Yeah.
Once you've had a chance to add 2 or 3 other things on there. So these are little things
that's
that could
typically
help.
how sometimes things you think of one thing and it's like, oh,
let me text
so just don't spit it out because then you'll probably be thinking of another thing shortly thereafter there. So definitely guilty of that there. So let's kind of talk about setting those financial boundaries. Though.
Financial boundaries, yes.
So, you know, we spoke about like some like things that like, you know, critical to like, you know, shelter, food, clothing for your child.
Right. Which may or may not be covered by child support.
Which may or may not be covered. Or even if it is covered, you might not be getting that child support.
Or you might not be getting enough.
I know in my situation, we are just sharing everything 50-50. Even if it's a laptop that's maybe going to live over at his mum's house.
Right.
We're splitting that 50-50. We don't have any rules of like an amount, but we just want to make sure that we're talking about it beforehand. Okay.
Right. And some families may have to have a budget, right? We can only spend X amount on the child per month jointly.
Yeah. And
then you two may have to really communicate and negotiate per month what that budget goes to.
Yeah. And look, you know, you don't need permission to, if it's under a certain dollar amount, like $10 or something like that.
Yeah,
but
if you want to buy your kids some candy.
You probably should just be paying it out of your own pocket, though.
Yeah, that's not meant to be shared.
I think one thing that we haven't touched on, though, is the importance of coming to an agreement on, you know, any potential, you know, second, you know, college sort of, you know, funding as well there. So, you know, I know that we've created separate college plans because ultimately they are owned, or 529, which is often used.
Yeah.
It's not owned by the child.
Right.
It's owned by a parent.
Right.
So we just have separate sort of college planning, but we've had that agreement that we're going to contribute a certain amount of money into that. And it's not 50-50 though. So one of us is putting more than the other there. So.
And for us, we have one account. We have one account per kid. It is under my name. It's Utma or Ugma.
Yeah.
Right. But the agreement is it's meant for the kid and we don't have separate savings accounts. But again, every couple is different. So you could have separate ones. You can have ones that are together. Sometimes it's the grandparents that have the account and not the parents.
Do you also, I know some couples or ex-couples who are co-parenting will also share like joint bank accounts or a joint credit card.
Right. So
for their children or child.
So again, I know I feel like I am probably on an extreme end of the spectrum where we're relatively amicable. So we do have a joint bank account that we still had that we kept from when we were together that we just keep for child expenses, and a joint credit card that is meant only to pay for camps or sports or whatever.
And that works well for you, though, correct?
That works pretty well for us.
Yeah, and no one's abusing it or anything like that.
It's happened by accident.
Yep.
I've given the benefit of the doubt where I found random Amazon purchases on the credit card.
Jeez, Amazon.
And that was an accident, a little mix-up.
Yep.
It was reimbursed.
Yeah.
And again, it's just about the communication. So, for example, when I found the Amazon purchases, I did not pick up the phone and flip out and yell. I asked the question.
Yeah.
Right? So this is, again, just being courteous and polite for the sake of your child.
Yeah. And look, I know, like, so whether you're sharing a joint one, you know, other people might put different accounts with different little buckets, like a bucket system where they're putting a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount of their salary or income, or maybe where some birthday money can go into. You know, I know that's a popular thing that both we like to do when, you know, kids have birthdays now. You know, it can be common. Maybe they just get some cash or Amazon gift cards. You know, having an agreement in place with the other parent and also the child, let's save some of that. You know, kind of getting back to what we were talking about beforehand, getting their involvement in whether it be budgeting or saving for something. I know from a young age, when I had my like Catholic savings bank account and stuff like that, I was saving up for He-Man and stuff like that. You know, like I still always have to keep a certain amount in my bank account there.
I also want to acknowledge that not every couple is going to be able to be amicable and communicate with each other. So I am on one end of the spectrum. There are couples that are on the opposite end of the spectrum.
When do you find yourself on the opposite end of the spectrum then? So
sadly, I have a girlfriend that is in this situation, and they've had to use mediators and lawyers to communicate child-related things. Yeah. Splitting of expenses or even custody. There are couples that will unfortunately have to resort to a third party to have these discussions. But I think the point of this episode is hopefully you don't have to get there.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can come to an agreement or a system or a way where you two can keep your cool.
Yeah.
And really focus on the child.
And I think we've already said it, but let's say it again. You know, an incredibly important part about that, even if you do have your own disagreements, do not bring them up in front of the children or the child.
Don't say it was
and then
mommy's fault that you didn't get this.
Do not blame.
Yeah, you know? No blaming. No blaming. Instead of it was mommy's fault that you didn't get this, it's, you know what, we do not have the budget for it right now.
Yeah.
We're working, perhaps if you want to save for it through doing some chores or getting a part-time job if you're old enough. But your dad and I don't have the budget for this right now, unfortunately. Yeah.
That's right. Try and resist saying, my child support payments paid for that new car of your mum's there. So not positive. If you want to save it for the bar with your girlfriends or your mates, you know.
Yeah,
so,
you know what? If you want to complain, it's okay to complain, just not to your kid.
Yeah.
Take it to your friends, your parents, whatever. Your therapist.
Your kid doesn't have to be your best friend, you know.
Your kid is not your best friend.
Yeah,
your kid is your kid.
Yeah, your kid is kid. So.
But divorce this or that, what am I going to talk about?
Well, I've got another Disney one if you want me to go first for you. So, geez. I love Disney so much. So here's one for you. I know you said that you used to work at a churro stand, and I know you do like them.
Yes.
And I also know that you adore popcorn.
I do.
So you got to get rid of one. Popcorn or churros? And why?
At Disneyland or just ever?
Ooh. I didn't think about that part of it, but Disneyland.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
That makes it easier.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I only like churros when they're at Disneyland. I don't like buying churros anywhere else, even like at a Mexican restaurant. It's just not the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Some secret sauce or some secret dough?
Secret frozen churro, secret something at Disneyland. I prefer to keep my churros at Disneyland. I can make my popcorn at home.
You could smuggle it in.
I figured out the secret seasoning that Disneyland uses.
What is that?
I forgot what it was called. It sounds really chemically
that is very
and
secret.
horrible. Yeah. Oh, I forgot what it's called, but you can buy it on Amazon.
All right.
Yeah. So I can make that Disneyland popcorn that I love so much. I can make it at home. So I choose to divorce popcorn.
Okay.
And I will continue eating my sugary churros.
All right. I feel like it would have been a different answer if I said this in general.
Yeah, that would have been
the other way around.
It probably would have been flipped around. All right, let's talk about attire. So, short sleeve shirts or shorts?
Shorts.
You would get rid of shorts?
No, I would keep shorts. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, because
I can roll up the sleeves on the long sleeve shirt.
Oh, dang.
Didn't think about that one.
No, I didn't. All right. Yeah, because Jade tends to run hot, so we are at the shift conference right now where the air conditioning is freezing cold and I'm wearing a jacket and I'm still shivering.
I would love to be wearing flip-flops because I'm in Florida, but I'm having to wear shoes and wearing pants.
Yeah, you're already
But I do have
warm.
a short sleeve shirt on just in case.
You do.
Well, that brings us to the end of another fun episode there. So hopefully you got something out of it and hopefully you join us for some more soon.
We'll see you next time.
I'm Jade and Joe, and thanks for joining us.
You're Jade and Joe.
I am. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just this person that's over here. All right. Bye-bye.
Jade and Joe are advisors of the Wealth Garden FS, an SEC registered investment advisor. The information is general and educational in nature and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. It is not intended to serve as a substitute for personalized advice or as a recommendation or solicitation of any particular security, strategy, or investment product. Please consult with a qualified professional about your individual situation.
Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where the Wealth Garden Financial Services and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advice may be rendered by the Wealth Garden Financial Services unless a client service agreement is in place.